My name is Jan Bennett. I am the operations manager at Bryson Constructors. I've been there. It's a new role. About a month. Bryson just took over as CEO, passed down from his dad. Took over that position and called me in to be his number two guy, to take care of the field operations, while he takes care of the other side of the business. And it's been an awesome experience thus far. So I'm looking to see what the position truly holds and really narrow down what it's going to take to help run a successful construction company.
My name is Nicole Hodges. I am the Regional Manager of Instructional Development and Design with Goodwill of North Georgia. I have been a part of the Goodwill of North Georgia family for the last 10 years.
Hello, my name is Yomi Adeyemo. I am with Juneau Construction. I am a community engagement manager, but majority of my experience here at Juneau Construction has been a project manager. We're a general contractor, woman-owned company, and we do work in the Southeast region.
Tell us about your career path and how did you end up in your current role?
Man, my career path it's kind of it's all over the place, but it started with growing up. I built houses and did renovations with my dad, so that kind of sparked the interest in construction. And so when I went to college, you always try to one up your parents. I went to college and got a degree in engineering, and I worked for Bobcat, as far as a mechanical engineer. I manufactured the attachments that go on a Bobcat, the bucket, the breakers, the clamps, and all that stuff. I did that for a few years. And so while I was there, I went back to school and got my master's in construction management from Southern Poly, which is now KSU. And then from there, once I graduated, there were no construction jobs. And so just happened to be looking online and found a teaching position at North Cobb High School, teaching construction. And so I applied for that and got it. And that was a game changer. Being there with young people. I was young myself, but I think I was 27 at the time, but still being an influence on the kids that are growing up and giving them shining a light on the industry of construction, teaching carpentry, plumbing, electrical, masonry, and all of those things, and bringing those individuals into the classroom to really expose what that really, really was and in the industry. And then I worked there for 4 years and had the opportunity to meet Holder Construction. They reached out to see what kind of resources that they could provide to the classroom. And I think it went backwards because I gave them a resume, and at the end of that 4th year, I wound up quitting teaching and going into my true career path with Holder, with them. And I worked with them for about 9 years, building everything from Delta Sky Clubs in New Orleans, Detroit, and Boston, helping to finish out and build the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I built Sandy Springs City Center from the ground up, and just a slew of other projects. And that tenure with them was great and amazing. They're a great company. And then I wanted to take an opportunity to step out on my own. So in January, I left Holder and took a venture and worked on my own for the last 6 months, and then got the call from Bryson about him, and his dad was stepping down and he was stepping into his role as CEO, and him and I did a project down at the airport together, and so he felt comfortable and trusted me, and so I walked into the role I am now as operations manager. And this, like I said, I've been there for about a month and some change, and just really honing in what my day to day looks like, and what the company needs are for me, from my experience all over, and just helping our personnel be the best people that they are and perform in the industry with the Bryson name.
I have always had a passion for helping people. I started working with children with disabilities, primarily autism, upon graduation from college. My undergrad is in clinical psychology, and I have a bachelor's degree. I transitioned from working with children with disabilities to adults when I realized that there were a lot of resources for children. With everything that we know about people with disabilities. The adults, however, didn't necessarily have access to those same resources. So I became really passionate about working with that population that didn't have access to those new resources. I originally, as I transitioned to working with adults, started working more in a residential setting, but was looking for a different challenge. And so what brought me to this place and supporting people with disabilities in employment, being able to help people with those barriers that they have to employment, assisting with removing barriers to help them achieve success and giving them access to the training. So I was able to kind of meet my skills and abilities and my degree along with my passion of helping people. What I've realized is that, throughout the years, that everyone deserves dignity, respect, and quality of life. And I am a part of providing access to that for people who maybe don't have access to that. I started working with a grant and then transitioned to direct staff and then eventually management and workforce development. Now in my current role as regional manager of instructional development and design, I'm responsible for developing curriculum for the training programs and the hard skills to help people upskill themselves and not only find a job, but a better job and a career.
Yes, so my career path really started when I was young, in a sense. I knew I wanted to build things, thought I wanted to be an architect, but later on in high school, I was headed towards the civil engineering route. And then when I was in college, I switched my major to construction because it's something I didn't know of at that time. But when it was presented to me, I thought, well, I think that I'll like that better. So changed my major and then did an internship my last year of college with a company that was working on our campus, which happened to be Juneau. And then did an internship, fell in love, and they hired me full time. So I've been in the industry for about 11 years now. Started entry level and then just worked my way up, got promotions throughout the process. And now I'm, more in the corporate office as a community engagement manager, still using my experience as a project manager, but to help other companies have opportunities within the construction space. So it's been interesting seeing, my pathway. It's just been a unique experience having some experiences in different departments within our company. But at the end of the day, having knowledge in the construction project management space.
What is a typical day in your role? Are there any misconceptions about what your job is like?
The day in the life and the role of an operations manager, it's kind of different every day, but kind of the same. For example, yesterday I went to one of our job sites and spent the day with, we do a joint venture. So I spent the day with um, the, the head construction company and just walked the job site to learn a bit about what's the project schedule, the issues, how our Bryson guys are doing and or could do better, and then what their needs are, and that's just that day. And so, like today, I have the opportunity to speak and be present for the future of construction individuals coming in. And then after this interview, I'm going to a different job site to, make sure take my guys to lunch, and just, show them praise for how they're doing, they're doing. And then tomorrow I have an interview with future developers, and seeing what Bryson can do to help them in their role in their pursuit of doing new business here in the state of Georgia. So, I mean, those things are just, they seem very different, but it all comes back together and seeing what Bryson constructors are able to help the community and help the projects along and help individuals be better throughout the day, the next couple months, the future. So we're it's always branding and looking out for the best interests of the company.
So it obviously is going to vary drastically by the skilled trade industry. For example, we can start with welding. So a typical day for someone in welding could be, working on special projects that an employer has them working on. It could be working, on repetition. So, sometimes you're welding together trailers and you might be responsible for one aspect of that trailer over and over again. It's going to vary, and I would say that there is no typical day. Someone working in that industry has to be able to deal with temperature. You're working in heat. But the misconception about skilled trades in general is that there is less money to be made than someone who has a degree, and that's absolutely not the case. Someone coming in with a welding certification can make more than somebody who has a 4-year college degree.
Yeah, so I would say pertaining to a day of a project manager, right? A typical day could be just start your day off at, I don't know, 6:30. Sometimes we have team huddles to start out our day, right? Because we believe in the importance of having a teamwork, making sure that everyone's on the same page, so communication, right? So having a team huddle first thing in the morning, whether it's internal or with the different trade partners that may be on the job site. And then after, you have the huddle, everyone's on the same page as far as the tasks that are assigned that day. Then it's anywhere from having different meetings, right? Because again, a lot of these things are just coordination, right? So trying to coordinate as much as possible. So you could have a meeting with the architect, you could have a meeting with the client, you could have a meeting with the structural or civil engineer, right? And then you have to have, some frequent meetings with your trade partners as well, too, to make sure that they're on the same page. Because at the end of the day, as a project manager, we are managing the whole team, our internal team, and then all other trade partners. So again, you could have anywhere from 10 to 200 people, working on the job site. So your job is to manage everyone, make sure that they're doing the assigned tasks. So I would say there's a lot of meetings for sure, but outside of those meetings, it's just communicating to everyone to make sure that everyone is going on the same path to achieving the daily goals, the monthly goals, and the project goals.
What kind of education, training, or certifications does your job require?
Specifically for my job, my education, I think, plays a huge role in that, as far as having the engineering degree, undergrad, and then the master's in construction management, and then just the experience from I don't know, I started working with my dad when I was, I could hold a hammer. So all of that experience and compiled, 40 years later into what the opportunity I have with Bryson Constructors being an executive. And that just gives me the ability to have the confidence to have individuals under me and be able to lead and guide them in the right directions for everything that I've seen. Now I'm still learning. I still have mentors. I still have guys that I can reach out to because there's going to be some things that I haven't seen, I haven't touched on that I have questions. So I think we're all still learning, but the path to get to where I am is just experience. You can have all the degrees and everything in the world, but if you don't have that personality and being able to communicate and speak with anyone, then those degrees wouldn't matter, because no one would want to listen to you, or that you didn't, put everything together. So I think it's important to have an education, but School of Hard Knocks is a great school to attend to get you where you want to go.
So while the employers do not mandate that you must have a certification in welding, it is very valuable. Most employers are looking for an American Welding Society certification in MIG, TIG, or stick welding. A 4-year degree is not required. Certifications alone will get you those entry-level positions that will get your foot in the door. With welding, most of your skills are actually learned on the job. It is one of the trades that requires a lot of hands-on, on-the-job type training to really hone your skills and become a master of your craft.
Yeah, so to become a project manager, ideally you would want a degree. So a construction management degree. I mean, I've seen individuals in our company that have engineering background, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, or they just have experience. So sometimes certifications are not really needed. I mean, you have individuals that haven't been to college, but they just started working in construction, or they've been exposed to construction since they were little. So they just gained that experience over time, right? So again, like I've stated in the past, that if you're open-minded to learning, then a lot of these things can be taught, right? And then just having a general knowledge of money budgeting, right? Because as a project manager, you're going to oversee millions of dollars, right, on a project. And then having some certifications are helpful, right? So some of the projects are LEED, which are like green sustainability. So there's certifications for that. I, for one, got my PMP, project management professional. Again, that's not required, but some of these things are just to help you develop as a person so that you could be better and more effective in your role. So again, a lot of certifications, degrees are not required. It's all about having the experience. If you want to work your way up from the bottom to the top, then just be open-minded to learn and be ready to work hard.
What kind of skills and traits are important for someone to be successful in your job?
From my experience, the number one trait and skill that you have to have is communication. Communication is very valuable, because you are relying on, from the project flow, the communication from the client to the architect, to, hey, I have this idea of what I want to build, and the architect has to then take that information and go build it. And then from there, the architect and the client then find the contractor and communicate what that aspect looks like. And the contractor has to put together all of these subcontractors and have that communication together to create contracts, then provide to the owner, and then building the project. It's communication from day one. There's a lot of ins and outs, a lot of entities, a lot of parties, a lot of people that make a project successful. And the number one thing to me is the communication factor.
In order to be a successful welder, you have to really have an attention to detail. Sometimes you are dealing with very minute and small pieces of equipment, and you're putting things together. So that attention to detail is extremely important. What is also really important is math skills. Math skills are necessary in welding because there is math. You have to figure out the arcs and the degrees at which you are welding. Some of the other traits that are necessary in welding is you have to be patient. Sometimes you will have to go over a weld multiple times. You are often working as a team. So sometimes you can be a part of the production line that's responsible for welding something together, but then there's also sometimes where you might be working independent. So you have to have the ability to operate in both of those areas, which means you also have to have strong customer service skills. And I'm not necessarily talking about external customers, but your internal customers, which are going to be your peers and your supervisor, and being able to communicate and have strong communication with them. The other thing that you would have to be able to really manage with welding is often you work long shifts. They are sometimes 10 and 12-hour shifts, although you might work a shortened work week where you're only working 3 or 4 days a week. And again, you have to be able to manage working in heat because of the torch that's used during welding.
So skills and traits that you need to succeed in this industry. Honestly, like, just to be honest, if you really have a heart of humility and you are ready to be a sponge and soak in everything, then you will succeed in this industry, right? Because yes, there's different pathways to get into construction, right? You could go to college like how I did. I got a degree in construction management and then, landed entry level in a management or general contractor. But there's other routes in going to construction. You start from the, I guess you could say the bottom, as a labor carpenter and work your way up, becoming a superintendent or even having your own business, right? So there's a different pathways, but at the end of the day, it's really who you really have to ask yourself, am I really prepared to learn as much as possible, right? Because if you're willing to learn as much as possible, a lot of these things can be taught. Whether it's electrician, a plumber, a welder, a carpenter, all these things to be taught. So you just got to have an open mind about being able to be teachable. And then another trait is just integrity, right? Making sure that you show up when you need to show up, making sure that you're doing the work. People want to depend on people in the construction, right? That's how you work your way up from being a laborer to a supervisor, right? Because the supervisor's job is to supervise, make sure that work is done. But it takes leadership, right? It takes you to set that example that, hey, if someone tells me to do this work, I need to do it. If someone tells me to be here on time, I need to be here on time. So dependability, integrity, hard work, and just being open-minded to me are, formulas to being successful in this industry.
What are good salary expectations in your field?
Good salary expectations in construction, they range, right? So if you're starting out, you're green to construction, you're gonna be starting on let's call it an hourly kind of guy. You're a bill laborer. And right now I think the going rate for a laborer is about $20 an hour, which isn't bad when minimum wage is about $7 or something like that. So you're way above the minimum wage number, but in the industry, that's on the low end. And so as you matriculate through your learning process, your learning curves of construction, then you can go, between, the next step is, $20 to $30. And then once you get up into beyond the labor or the skilled labor role and things of that nature and actually become a salaried individual, you're looking to be beyond 6 figures over the time, and it just depends on how hard you work and what your goal is to in the construction industry. Is it going from a laborer that's sweeping the floors to that superintendent, or is it going to be the owner of the company? So if you get from laborer to superintendents are easy 6 figures, but that means that you're leading an entire company. You have people under you, and you know what you're doing. So just depending on your experience and gaining that knowledge, and the the dollar amount is vast, and you can make a lot of money in construction.
For a welder coming in with little to no experience, most welders at this current time are averaging $18 to $20 an hour. The longer you are a welder, the more experience that you have, that salary continues to go up, where you can make upwards of $40 to $45 an hour.
Yeah, so it definitely, the salary ranges based off of what you're doing, right? So in construction, there's so many individuals that are part of construction. So from the people that are actually putting work in place to people that are managing, right? So for instance, for the trades like electrical, plumbing, I mean, we're seeing, you can start making anywhere from $17 an hour to 32, 33. I think 32 is about the average salary right now. And then obviously the more experienced you are, you know, the more you'll get paid, right? Or if you're doing if you're specializing in something, you get paid more. For example, like welding, I think they're getting paid about starting around $17 as well too, and the average is about maybe 32 the more experienced you are. But let's say that you're doing welding underwater, right? That's more specialty, which is going to require more pay for individuals to do that. So it just depends. As far as like management position, similar to what I've been doing the past years, again, you could start entry level from like 60,000 and work your way up, to, I mean, anywhere from 150,000, 180,000, and then you get to director level, you're getting paid more than that. So it just really depends on the size of the company. But again, there's plenty of opportunities in construction. I can't stress that enough. People are in demand, right? So if there is a demand, that means that the salary, the pay can be negotiable because people need you. So if there was ever a great time to get into construction, the time is now.
What advice do you have for someone just starting their career?
My advice to someone that is just starting is keep going. It's hard work, especially when you come in on the lower end and you're green and you don't know anything. You're gonna get tested and tried, and that's not to try and break you, but construction is hard work, and you just have to prove your worth when it comes to that hard work. Um, so keep your head down, keep going. Don't question yourself. Always reach out to the older individuals. I know that's what I did when I first started. I went to the older guy. He was always that cool guy everybody went to, but he was the one in the ditch, the hard worker. He was the one that the superintendent will call to get everything done. And just surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are about the hard work. That it's about getting the things done. And you might think that you're not being seen, but that hard work shows. People will see that, and then that will help you further your career in the long run.
Some advice for somebody starting out in their career is that your journey is your journey. Take the opportunity to get your foot in the door. Pave and create your own pathway to achieve your own personal and professional goals. Sometimes the salary is not what we're looking for to start, but there's so much opportunity with that employer. Do not allow objection to discourage you. Sometimes a no is actually not a no. It's just sometimes a not right now. Utilize those objections to further drive you toward achieving your goals.
So for someone who is just starting out in construction, I will advise you to ask as many questions as you can, right? Obviously, if you're just starting out, you don't know a whole lot. So you may get exposed to, just things, or you may hear terminology that you don't know. Don't feel like you need to know things, and then, you don't want to be ashamed or embarrassed to ask a question. No, ask as many questions as you can. That's how you learn, right? And I would say that every day, I'm learning something, right? Even though I've been in it for 11 years. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been in for 30 years and they're still learning. So if you're not learning, that's an issue. If you're not learning something, that's an issue. So don't feel bad to ask questions. Again, be open-minded, try to get yourself exposed, right, to whether it's internships, apprenticeships, even just job shadowing, right? If you're curious about a certain position in the industry that you may like, feel free to job shadow somebody, right? So there's a lot of ways for you to get exposed so that you can figure out what you want or what you like, whether you have passion for it or whether you don't. To me, the more exposed you get, the more you find out if you like something or not. So I'll just say, get exposed. Feel free to ask questions, and look for mentors or people that you can shadow.